Hey, what's up, everybody? We have a new YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe right now. Leave a comment on the video. Share it with your friends. It's also a podcast, 3 and Out, wherever you listen with me, John Middlekauff, Apple, Spotify. We have you covered, as well as thevolume.com. We have merch. Check out. I got 3 and Out hats right now. Thevolume.com. Search the podcast. Buy some merch. This could have been, if Houston wasn't a franchise, you could have put this Saturday afternoon. Philly at Houston. I don't know, man. I understand, like, kind of going into the game, assuming Dallas is going to win, but the level of gutlessness from the Eagles in that effort, I mean, that was pretty eye-opening, especially given the way that their season was going. This feels like all-time implosion. Listen, I watched a decent amount of Tampa against Carolina. They do not look good either because Baker's injured. They're just not playing that well. So it's hard to just think Tampa is going to beat them, but Philly can lose to anybody the way they're playing. I mean, you could not feel comfortable. I don't give a shit if you're Jeffrey Lurie placing a bet right now on the Eagles. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't. I'm not going to touch this game, but I wouldn't touch Philly with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, it's Tampa or nothing for me, especially at a field goal. This Eagles team is, I mean, they were very fortunate to be 10-1.
Do you think you're a Philly guy? Do you think Sirianni, if he loses this game, because there's no way they could lose this game and it not be an ugly fashion, whether it's a walk-off field goal, whether it's getting your ass, regardless, you lose this game, could he get fired next week?
I think
I do too.
Like, look at what the Eagles franchise has done. They've gotten rid of Super Bowl winning quarterback coaches like Peterson, Andy Reid. They're not they're not
Tomlin and the Steelers.
No. Yeah, they will move on quick, and yeah, it's been a disaster with either side of the ball. Like the defense, they're changing defensive coordinators. They're naming Matt Patricia midway. Since they named Matt Patricia the defensive coordinator, they've gotten worse. They're 31st EPA per play on defense since Patricia took over. I mean, it's been a disaster. I mean, everyone is out of position. They've also had injuries. The offense is also a mess too. They can't figure out teams blitzing against them. AJ, just the vibes too. Everything in the locker room. Now you have AJ Brown who's hurt. We'll see what his status now. How healthy he is. Devontae Smith's banged up. Hurts got banged up. Swift hasn't had a 100-yard rushing game since the Bucs game when they beat them earlier this season. It's a mess. Both sides of the field. I mean, and that's the longest I've read today. A funny stat is the longest stretch of a Eagles starting running back not having a 100-yard game since Keith Byers in the early 90s, who went like 131 games without a 100-yard game.
Jesus.
But yeah, they're a mess on both sides of the ball. Now the Bucs aren't great. Baker's hobbled too, and they just won a shitty division. I will say, in fairness, the Eagles, all right, now they're in. Is it a chance for them to reset? Everyone's written them off. They have the playoff pedigree. Can they rally here? The Cowboys in the same situation last year. They were in the same situation the Eagles going into week 18. They had to win and then have the Eagles lose, but they knew the Eagles were probably going to win. And they went up to Washington and lost 26-6. Dak was 16-37, threw a bunch of pick sixes. Then they recovered and won in Tampa, I think, on the Monday night game. So it's the same situation.
And he had the greatest game of his career. Did he throw 5 touchdowns?
Yeah, he looked perfect. So, but I just don't see that from this Eagles team right now. I could not bet them. I will say I'm betting some Cade Otton, the Bucs tight end. He's not great, but he's their only tight end. He will be on the field most of the game. And the Bucs can't run the ball. They won't be able to run the ball in Philly. And so they're going to be in a lot of passing situations, passing downs. And the Eagles can still get pressure with so Baker's going to get rid of the ball quick, and Baker's hobbled. So I think he's going to look to Otton, and the Eagles cannot cover tight ends to save their life. On this, they're the worst defense in the NFL defending tight ends. Now they've had linebacker injuries. Reed Blankenship has fallen off a cliff. On the season, they get up 76% completion rate. Tight ends have averaged 5 catches for 50 yards
Jesus.
And that includes the game against the Dolphins, who don't use their tight end and had no yards. And since week 8, it's been even worse. Opposing tight end 6 catches on average for 58 yards. They've given up, I think over the past, let me see, I have it here. They've given up 11 20-plus yard receptions over the past 7 weeks to tight ends alone. So I played Otten, who I think is going to get some looks, and he's had 12 catches of over 13 yards this year in 17 games. So I played over 12.5 longest catch. I split up with one of my, whatever I bet on a normal game, I split it up into 3. Longest over catch, 12.5. Over 2.5 catches. The one I like the most is over 20.5 receiving yards. I think he might be able to get that in one reception, but I think Baker's going to look to him a bunch. They're going to have to throw it a bunch. And the middle of the field, Eagles can't defend it. They're going to have to worry about Godwin and Evans. So I think Otten's going to have some opportunities here, and the Eagles just can't cover tight ends.
You know what's crazy? If we get some upsets, right? If the Rams beat Detroit and Philly were to implode and lose, you could argue the Cowboys get the easier second round matchup than the 49ers, because they would get the Bucs and the Niners would have to play the Rams, who would be, you have a ton of momentum. So that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's no,
because you want the Bucs. To me, like the Niners or Cowboys would to me pick the Bucs over all these other teams, right? Probably including the Eagles, just because if those guys get healthy, they can give you problems.
Yeah, it's, the NFL, I shouldn't say never, but there's going to be upsets this week. It's just the way that it works. If I could tell you which ones it'll be, I'd be on an island somewhere, not recording this with you, even though I enjoy doing this. But I mean, who knows? I wouldn't be floored if the Packers, Rams, and Bucs all won. And I would be a little bit more shocked if the Steelers and Dolphins both won. But if you tell me the Cowboys McCarthy choked the game away and Love went off, I wouldn't be completely shocked. And the Rams beat the Lions, of course, it could easily happen. And the Bucs beating the Eagles, so I wouldn't be shocked if all 3 underdogs in the NFC won. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be chaotic. Enjoy the games. We got 3 days of them. I preferred it 2 triple headers, Saturday, Sunday, but you can't complain having an extra.
I agree. Totally agree. And I think, would you say Sirianni and McCarthy would be the 2 guys that if they were to lose, you never know Monday if those guys are still employed?
McCarthy with this team, with these expectations, if he goes down at home,
some of these to the Packers, some of these guys available.
He's I think he's
got to win this. This is a must win for him.
Must win game. You can even maybe lose to the Lions next week, but you can't go out in the first round at home. Jones will, I think, make a move. And
Stuckey, I don't think he can lose a home playoff game. I don't think he can lose the home games. He can lose the Niners,
but especially not the first one.
You can't. This would be, he's 100% fired. I think there would be problems if he lost in the second round to Detroit, to Philly, I think it'd be problems. He loses the Niners, he's going to be 7-point underdog in that game.
Yeah,
that's losable. I don't think you can't lose at home, because if you're losing at home, the whole point is to get these home playoff games, right? He did it a couple years ago. Well, now 2 years later, he's in charge. He's calling the plays. This team's better in theory, right? So I think he's got to win the home games. That's my thing. Like, if I could see Jerry, who's kind of been a little weird, talking about him. He's like, he's under contract next year. It's not like he's got some 5-year deal.
But I think you're definitely right if he loses this weekend. And everyone in the AFC is safe.
Todd Bowles would be a 50-50. I'm not saying he should, but I'm just saying ownership's a little weird there,
They're bringing Baker back one more year.
Yeah, Todd's probably safe.
They'll probably keep him one more year. But I think Sirianni, the two NFC East coaches, if they lose this weekend, could get
adios.